Let's get to our topic today, and that is getting back to running after a longer break. What are your top tips that specifically pertain to our audience?
Did you push record?
Thank you so much for tuning into Our Second Act with Paige and Silka. Today on our expert segment, we welcome back health and fitness writer Rashelle Brown. Rashelle, I'm so glad to have you back on Second Act TV.
Thanks. It's great to be back.
Well, Rashelle is, as I said, a health and fitness writer. She is a regular contributor to active.com and to Next Avenue, which of course focuses on people of our vintage. She's also the author of Reboot Your Body, Unlocking the Genetic Secrets to Permanent Weight Loss. Today, of course, we want to pick your brain a little bit about coming back to running after a longer break. You know, in your case, winter.
Yeah.
I can't make that same claim here in California. And didn't you just get a bunch of snow again?
We've gotten 12 inches of snow in the last 36 hours, and tonight we will break the record for the low temperature. Yes.
Well, I ran with my running group last night, and it was a little chilly. It was like 60. So,
Oh, you're lucky I'm far away.
well, anyway, I'm sure you'll get some relief here soon, I hope. But let's get to our topic today, and that is getting back to running after a longer break. What are your top tips that specifically pertain to our audience?
Well, the first thing that I would stress is don't expect to pick right back up where you left off. After any kind of a prolonged break, even just a month, it's important to start off slowly because getting back into it too quickly can lead to an injury right off the bat. And then you're stuck, nursing an injury and addressing that. And that's more downtime. So ease back into it with probably some walk runs if it's been a while, and then build mileage and speed back up pretty slowly.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense, obviously. My question is also in starting slowly, how do you feel about stretching before a run? I've heard pros and cons about that.
Yeah, personally, I'm against it, and that's based on a lot of research that I've seen. The only type of stretching you should do before any activity is dynamic stretching, and you shouldn't even do that until you're pretty warmed up. So, a brisk walk, around the block, and then some dynamic stretching exercises like some leg swings, pendulum, side to side, back and forth, some walking lunges that start pretty shallow and get progressively deeper, some trunk twists, things like that to get the body ready to go, and then run. And then in terms of stretching for flexibility or lengthening muscles, you want to do that at the end of the run.
And the reason I ask, and again, I'm kind of relating it to my own personal experiences now with getting older, and it takes a little longer. I feel very stiff, more and more stiff, which I'm sure a lot of people are sharing that. The other thing that I know that you're a big proponent of is strength training.
I am, yes. Yeah. So the other thing is hopefully during the winter or your time off, you've been able to do some strength training. It's beneficial. More muscle mass per body weight is beneficial for runners of all ages and abilities. But it's something that can help you eliminate injury, especially if you've been doing some runner-specific strength training. And that would be strength training that targets the core, but specifically the hips and the glutes, which tend to be weak in various areas and can contribute to injuries. So even if you haven't been training in the off-season, strength training, you can introduce 2 or 3 workouts a week in your early sort of base building phase. So when you're just starting to get back into running and before you're working on really upping your mileage or increasing speed, it's a good time to incorporate some strength training.
Well, and you bring up another good point. Maybe, and I'm thinking of the people who are watching this. Either they have taken a long break, or they haven't run and are starting. Perhaps the goal needs to be identified, because you're talking about increasing speed, and maybe that's something we need to have a clearer picture of why we actually want to start running.
Right. Yeah, not everybody's going to care about their pace. if people are interested in doing events, even if they have no hope of winning an event in their age group or otherwise, at some point, I think we all get a little bit competitive with ourselves, or if not competitive, we want to improve. And that's great when you get to that point. But when you're just starting back into it, or if you haven't run and you're just getting into it for the first time, I would say leave your watch and your GPS and all that kind of stuff at home and just go out and run, either a preset distance or run for a set amount of time.
Let me follow up on the strength training with another question that just struck me. You said core and hips.
Yes. So the core is really all of the muscles that act around the pelvic girdle. So it's the lower back, all of the abdominals, which there are 4 different groups of abdominals, and then your glutes and the other hip muscles. So hip flexors and extensors, the adductors and abductors. It's quite a large complex of muscles, and there are a lot of different exercises that you'll need to do to target them, but they're almost all body weight exercises.
I think a lot of runners, or I shouldn't say runners probably know, but if you haven't run, that's how important core is. You think your legs are doing everything, but the core really stabilizes the way you run.
Right.
Would that be right?
It's true. It stabilizes and it has a huge impact on your form. And if you've got something off in your form, especially over time, so as you fatigue over the course of a run, if you don't have a strong core, your posture will change, your form can break down, and then that's when you can start to see overtraining injuries creep in.
Well, and while we're all enthusiastic, even after winter, don't worry, you'll get
Yes.
there. uh, I think and I have to keep telling myself that rest is important. I believe
Mm.
that's one of your tips.
Yeah, it really is. Either people don't realize it or they forget that they knew it, but improvements in fitness in general, whether it's strength or endurance, don't happen while you're training. They happen after you're training during the rest and recovery period. So if you're working out at a difficult, say a moderate to intense level day after day, and you're skipping that rest period, you're actually not only doing your body a disservice, but you're going to see it reflected in your running performance as well. So it's important to have at least one complete rest day and probably another day that's a pretty light alternate activity day, whether that's some yoga or some easy biking or something non-impact.
Well, we're getting kind of close to the end of our segment, Rochelle. What would you leave our viewers with as maybe a final point, or some words of wisdom on getting started safely again after a longer break?
I'd say the biggest key is to listen to your body, take it slow, and have fun.
Yeah, join a running group.
Right, yes. like like the second act virtual running group.
Well, Rochelle, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you just started your own YouTube channel, so I'm going to link to your channel because you're coming out with some really fun and great advice on it's home gym stuff, right?
Yeah, right now I'm doing a home gym series, and the next thing we're going to be doing are some 15-minute workouts. So look for those in the weeks ahead.
Well, let me know, especially if you're doing anything that specifically goes towards an older audience. I'll make sure we'll run them on YouTube as well. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon on another episode of Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
Thank you.
Bye. Before you switch over to one of our other videos, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. Button's right over here. And more information about getting fit after 50, please go to our website, secondact.tv. See you soon.